Welcome to the Productive AF podcast, where we get real about reinvention, resilience, and building a life and career that's uniquely yours. I'm your host, Jen Fast, and today's episode is about bold pivot, financial empowerment, and embracing your authentic self, especially for women navigating big life transitions. My guest today is the phenomenal Natalie Beard. Natalie's journey is the definition of reinvention, from leading teams in cytology labs to launching new ventures in retirement planning and financial coaching. She's passionate about helping women thrive, whether that means managing perimenopause, bouncing back from burnout, or taking charge of their financial future. If you've ever wondered how to start over, find your voice, or stop seeking permission to be your true self, this episode is for you. We're diving into career pivots, financial literacy, leadership, inclusion, and the power of loving yourself through it all. So grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and get ready for some honest, actionable wisdom. Natalie, I am so excited to have you here. Ready to jump
Oh,
in?
yes. Thank you so much, Jen. I'm so honored that you have me here as a guest, and I'm excited.
Do you mind starting with telling our folks a little bit about yourself?
I am a person who's been in the medical field for past 20 plus years. So I've been in what we call cytotechnology or cytology. It's the study of the cells of the body. So I work in a medical laboratory in a hospital setting. Most of that time I spent in leadership. So 18 plus years in leadership within that field. I take pride in actually being able to help in this field because we talk about women. One of the things that we do is we screen pap smears. So we actually look at pap smears, use a microscope. We look at your cells to determine if you have any abnormalities or any type of organisms that are creeping around in there, and we report it out. And actually, we have the capability, just like a pathologist, to be able to sign out cases. So you might see my name on a report, just like a doctor would. So we have some of the best advantages in that aspect, and just being able to help and to help save lives, actually. That's just a little bit about me. Like you mentioned, I had pivoted into some entrepreneurial things. I've dabbled in some network marketing, and my latest venture has been into retirement planning. So I am a licensed agent broker. Basically, I look for other ways to help people to retire other than 401ks and regular savings accounts. So we utilize what we call IULs or Index Universal Life Insurance, as well as annuities. I'm looking to get into the world of podcasting as well because I've learned so much throughout my years of leadership and just being a woman and going through all the different things that we're going to talk about today. So one thing I want to start doing is podcasting. What I consider my brand is called Soul Wealth Rebirth. I'm excited to get doing that and to bring in my knowledge and my knowledge base to the people out there, especially the ladies out there, because we all need to talk about these particular things, especially what we're going to be talking about today.
As you were saying, your career is anything but ordinary, from leading teams in cytology, helping women take charge of their financial futures. But let's start at the beginning. Can you kind of walk us through your path of reinvention? What inspired you to make such bold career pivot?
It's just something that's been in the back of my mind. I've always had a little ear for entrepreneurial work outside of what I was doing. Like many people, we grow up, our parents tell you, go to school, go into something that's successful. And so that's what I did. I loved biology. And then throughout the years, with my leadership experience and all the different experiences that came with it and life experience, I said, oh, you know what? I kind of have the gift of gab. I would like to go into doing my own business. And so I tried little different avenues there, and I landed upon insurance because I'm a person who loves to help. I'm a giver, natural giver, and I love to see people happy. If I learn something interesting and I think it's worth learning for other people to learn and benefit from, I want to make sure they are well informed about those things as well. So I did say if I do go on to, of course, people want to make money. Who doesn't? But I wanted to make sure it had some substance to it that made sense. Something that I can be proud about, that I was able to help this family to be able to get this insurance in case they end up with cancer and then they can't work, but they have something to fall back on with these benefits that come from that. But and like I said, I can talk your head off about it, but I'm short and sweet with it. But when I hit 40 is basically when things just took a turn for me as far as in the right direction, I would say. I think I was just kind of in a stagnant state. And then 40 hit, and I was like, there's more to life than what I'm doing. It's because I felt like I was doing the mundane, everything. Every day was like Groundhog Day. And I was like, something's not fulfilling me. I'm not fulfilling fulfilled. Something's not right. And so that's back when I turned 40, which was 9 years ago. That's when things clicked. And that's when I moved forward. And that also had a major life changes that came along with it. That was a divorce that came along with it, and me moving around the country that came along with it. And so just me finding myself. And so that's what kind of triggered all of this to come to where I am.
You and I are on kind of similar paths in life, and that when I hit 40 and then 45 and then 50, each of those was kind of a different phase. I was a different person and things happened, but as you've shown, it's your reaction to them, right? That's important. One thing I wanted to ask you is, are there any skills or perspectives from your science background that surprised you by being useful in your new venture?
The leadership aspect of it. I learned a lot about being a leader in the medical field. I took a lot of classes. I learned about empathy. And so that all helped me to grow into the person I am now. That's helped me to go into entrepreneurship. It's taught me how to be a leader. It's taught me how to be, like I said, empathetic. It's taught me how to talk into crowds of people because sometimes we have to speak, we have to present. And so I've learned how to become more confident, and being able to deliver what you need to get across in your mind. And so all of those aspects have helped me grow into the leader I've become, and also to be able to take that outside of the medical field into my personal life and as well as my entrepreneurial life.
One of the things I find that I think, especially for us as women, that sometimes hold us back is a feeling of imposter syndrome. Like, I'm not qualified. Who would want to hear
Right.
me? Is that ever reared its head for you, or are there other fears or doubts that you've had about starting over? And then how did you get through
Oh,
that?
of course, because I'm a person who can be a bit of a perfectionist person type, A type
Yeah.
person. I want to make sure it's all done correctly, or I know everything before I even say anything about it. And sometimes you just have to rip the band-aid off and just fumble over words, say whatever comes out of your brain, and then eventually you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm making sense now. And now I don't feel like I need to be an imposter. Now I can be myself. And that's the problem. A lot of people feel like I need to be like somebody else. I need to be like this person or that person. I'm not like that person. But the problem thing is, you need to just be yourself. Because once you become yourself, you're authentic, your words will come across very freely and you won't have any issues with it. And then you'll find out other people are like, oh my gosh, she makes so much sense. And to you, you're like, oh my gosh, I just messed up that. But it makes sense to other people. So we just have to stop
Yeah.
being so critical about ourselves. So like I said, take that band-aid off and just be free with it.
One of the things I love about being our age is just having that confidence and also not caring so much what other people think, kind of like what you said. And one of the best pieces of advice I've ever received, actually from another female mentor, is just don't self reject. Is there any advice that you would give to women who are contemplating a major career change, especially later in life?
You know what? The thing is that, yes, you just know that you're going to be scared. Do it scared. You're going to make mistakes and it's okay. That's the only way you'll learn. Only way you'll get ahead is you have to fail. And it sounds crazy to say that, but in order for you to learn, you have to fail. You learn what not to do. You learn what, okay, I could do this better next time. And just know that you can always pick back up and start over. You can always start over. It's never like, okay, this didn't work. Okay, I can't do that anymore. No, sometimes you got to keep going. And that's what a lot of people, they lose confidence because it's not working out. But a lot of times you got to keep working at it. It's tough. There's nothing good in life ever comes easy. That's one thing I always say. And
Yeah.
so you have to remember that it takes a lot of work and just know that there is light at the end of the tunnel and that you will succeed. But it does take a lot of work. So I have to give them that advice. And to know is sometimes some people it comes very easy, but a lot of times you don't know what that person has gone through. If everybody sees, like they're seeing me now, they're like, oh, she knows how to blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you didn't know me before. I was shocked. I was like, I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah.
Or I feel like a different person from other people. And I felt like if I say something, it's going to sound weird. And it's like you said, we get to a certain age, I'm just going to be me. I am tired of trying to pretend.
It's about progress and not perfection
Exactly.
anyway, right?
Exactly.
One of the things I love is how you've turned each chapter of your career into an opportunity to empower others. So, speaking of empowerment, I know that you're especially passionate about helping women. Why is this mission so important to you? And what should women know about managing their money during big life
Well,
transitions?
you know what? My first experience with financial hardship came when I got divorced. You get accustomed to two incomes. And then I decided, okay, I want to go off and do my own thing. It was not an easy decision to make at all. I mean, it was scary. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm by myself. Even though I was by myself prior, I got married at 30. So I wasn't like super duper young when I got married. But when you're married for so long, I was married for 11 years. And it's like, that's a big chunk of time out of your life. I was married my entire 30s. And so I got used to having two incomes and living in a nice house and not having to worry too much about money. And whereas when I said I was going to move on with my life from my divorce, and just want to preface by saying, who wants to get divorced? Nobody gets married to get divorced. But I feel like that was a life lesson or a chapter in my life. I don't regret it. I don't regret it at one, but I do feel it's something that I had to experience. And it was something I learned a lot from, but I did have to let it go. And it was a tough thing to let go. Despite being unhappy, I still had to let it go. You're so used to buying groceries for two people, and you end up overspending money. Then you have to get your own place. I went through a little bout of financial hardship. And so at that time, I wasn't very financial savvy. Yes, I have 5 degrees. That doesn't, but none of them are in math. None of them are in finance. And so at that time, I was not very educated on about finances. So I could have done my better due diligence with my money at that time and how to move and invest, but I was not well versed in it. As the time went on, like I said, a few years later, I had a friend that introduced me to the business. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize. I thought 401k was it. And like many of us, we really don't know how 401k works. We were just told this is your retirement plan, sign up for it, and that's it. Nobody really educated us about that. And even in our generation, most of the time, we weren't educated by our parents. Both of my parents had pensions, so they didn't have 401ks to educate me about. But as I got older and started managing my money better, and then I've gotten to the finance industry, I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many different things out there that we just don't know about. I want to educate people about
Yeah.
what's available out there, how you can get an account that you don't lose money whenever the stock market crashes. Everybody else, they may lose their 401k, don't have a retirement. So
No.
that's what pivoted me towards being able to offer this to especially women who may be in my situation, who are single mothers, who are taking care of a household with one income, and they want to be able to do better for themselves in life.
As someone who's been married 3 times herself, I've made experienced a lot of those same transitions, and I've made a lot of the same
Oh,
mistakes. You mentioned a couple of them. What are some of the most common financial pitfalls that you see women encounter during these big life transitions, and what can they avoid?
I think a lot of them is they're not budgeting for one. They're just going off of their spending habits before and not realize, okay, stuff's cut in half now. I mean, it's only got one little income there. You got to make sure you're taking care of all your bills and things. So they're not taking that into account. They're not realizing, oh yeah, I have to make sure I have life insurance to just in case something happens to me. All these different things, especially if you have children, you want to make sure your children are taken care of and have them set up for financial success. And so it's just all these things that they need to think about. Some people just don't think. I've had people who are my age to say, oh, I got plenty of time for retirement. I said, it'll creep up on you before you know it. I was always saying, I want to be retired by 50. So I got 6 months to figure that out. I don't know how it's going to happen. So I got to work on that. But it's just being realistic with your goals. Some people just have to sit down and write out their goals, write out what they want to happen by the age of retirement for them. The way the economy is set up now, it's very tough to save for retirement. So we just have to do our due diligence with.
How do you approach a financial conversation with women who feel overwhelmed or intimidated by the topic?
You know what? I tell them, I said, with me especially, when I do consultations initially, everything is free up front. I'm giving you advice. I may give you a little presentation to look at, but I'm not pushing anything on you. I mean, that's on you. My joy actually out of it, and that's why I was like, I'm probably the worst salesperson because I'm enjoying showing the information, and I'm like, okay, I need to make some money too. But I want the people to be able to understand what's out there. And I tell them, I said, look, I don't like talking about finances either. Mine are not the best either. I'm working on making them better. Let me just show you a few things. Let me show you what you can start doing. We do a financial needs analysis. So a lot of times that kind of opens people's eyes because we write down every single expense. And then some people are like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I had this subscription. I don't need that anymore. It's just certain things that they're not realizing that they can cut out. That some other ways we can help be able to have more funds in their pocket that doesn't require them to get another job. That's what they think. Oh, I got to get another job. I'm like, not necessarily. Let's look at your expenses. Let's look at your balances and everything, and let's see if we can move some stuff around. That helps. And so it puts people at ease. I'm just chit chatting. I'm just getting to know you, and let's see what we can help you with. And then you start seeing them come at ease with it. Because some people are embarrassed by their expenses, their finances. So totally understandable. Like I said, I'm not a pushy person. I let people come when they're ready. And so we just go from there.
I think one of your advantages is just in being a woman, because I can imagine if you've never had a financial conversation before, to go to a male financial consultant or retirement planner might be extra intimidating because you don't know if they're going to understand where you're coming from.
Right.
So I would certainly rather talk to someone who's in a similar space in life than me.
You have to be careful. I try to show women, especially personal side of me going through what I've gone through. Because, when I share things, sometimes I'm just sharing it or I'm doing it to kind of talk through it myself. And then I find other women like, oh, that was very helpful. I'm like, oh, I did that for myself and I realized it was going to help somebody else. So what I'm looking for is having that type of relationship, gain that trust. And that's basically how you talk people through in helping them and to get that trust.
You mentioned a couple of great tips already, which is creating a budget, but maybe the first step is looking, where are you even spending your money, finding all those little hidden costs. Can you think of any other small, practical step a woman could take today that would improve their financial future?
Small things. I mean, it could be anything from if you want to just save $10 a paycheck. It's something. It may not sound like a lot, but it's $10 that later on you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot I had this little money stashed to the side. It's just something you can always start as small as you need to start with. You don't have to start with a big amount in account. You can start with that. You can just try to change the type of brands you shop at. Aldi is an amazing, I'm not trying to advertise here, but Aldi's has some wonderful choices if you have one in your area. You have to put everything in boxes and bring your own bags, but they have some things that you can probably get at your local grocery market at a cheaper price. So look at things like that. I like Hulu, but I don't like the commercials, but it's cheaper with the commercials. Just look at it like it's regular TV. I think people have forgotten what regular TV is because we're also used to using the different apps and no advertisements and things of that nature. But you want to pay $7.99, you want to pay $14. Those are little small things that can help you.
Well, that does add up. So, of course, there's no transformation that doesn't come without its own challenges. You've spoken openly about experiencing burnout. And I love this phrase that you once said to me called ego death, how those moments led to your personal rebirth. For our listeners who have not had the privilege of talking to you more, can you tell us a little bit more about ego death and then what happens in terms of rebirth after that?
And that's something that I will say and paraphrase, but I never really talked about. So I'm happy to just freely talk about it right now. I noticed a period of my life where it's happened back maybe 2, 3 years ago. And it's like everything I was the type of person that I was different. And when I say different, I felt like I was the black sheep of the family because I like different things or compared to other people. And I've always been different. I've always liked different music, different type of clothes, different just everything. And then I found myself trying to be a part of the crowd. I would basically just try to be about like everybody else, not myself. And of course, it became draining. It got to the point where it's just like, okay, enough is enough. I need to let go of that. And so a lot of that is attached to your ego. Ego protects you. That's what your ego is all about. I had to strip myself away of all those things that did not serve me anymore. Because I knew it wasn't, but I was trying so hard to be like everybody else, trying so hard to get this particular thing that necessarily I didn't like it. I may have been good at it, but I didn't like it. Basically what an ego death is basically coming to your true authentic self. It just got to the point where I just couldn't take it anymore. And it was leaving a job that I thought I was going to stay at forever. I was so unhappy at that job, but this is not me. I had to leave that job away. I left where I was living, moved across the country with my dogs to a whole different city. Now, it's been kind of like that for me since 2019. I think I've lived in 5 states. So I think it happened prior to 3 years ago that the ego death started, but I really started feeling it like 3 years ago, like I said. Just started feeling I'm just not happy. And then I started thinking, if you're not happy, why are you doing it? So I had to stop doing a lot of things that I was going to get me ahead, that I thought was going to get me to my next destination. And I found that, yes, although very, very difficult, it's hard. Okay, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's very difficult. But at the end of it, right now, I am a totally different person than I was 3 years ago. Totally different. I may not have as many friends as I had because I had to let them go because I was a people pleaser, natural people pleaser. They wanted something done, I did it for them. And because I'm a natural giver, and what I was finding that a lot of what I was giving, I was not receiving. It was not being reciprocated. So I had to let those friends go that were not true friends. I had to let the job go that was not benefiting me. It was making me stressed out. It was making me sick. I had to let it go. And it's been a journey of finding myself and getting back to self. And what the theme has been for me this past year, I call it becoming Natalie. I've always been Natalie, but I wasn't really who Natalie is supposed to be. And so that's where I am now. It's like finally I feel free. It can be lonely. I mean, I'm just gonna say that, but it's peaceful.
How did you recognize when you were in that burnout phase, and what were the first steps you took to recover from it?
Well, when I recognized it, initially it started with the job that I had. And I was trying to stick with it. I'm stick to it. And I just felt like I didn't want to go to work anymore. I didn't want to go in. And I once enjoyed it and took satisfaction and felt fulfilled. I just didn't like it anymore. And I felt horrible. And so that's when I said, okay, I got to do something. And it was a risky decision to make to leave that job, but I decided to leave. And since then, I've had a couple of jobs that just didn't work out. And it's just, I don't know, just because the older you get, also, it's the less tolerant things you are as well. You just become to learn more about yourself and what you like and what you don't like. Like some people will sit there and just grind and be unhappy the entire time. And I'm like, why do that to yourself? Yeah, you make a ton of money from it, but are you truly happy? And then you find yourself looking to other people to validate you. And that's not the way it should go. You should validate yourself. And so I had to learn how to love, stop giving all of my love to everybody else, which is just fine. And that even goes with family because you have to set boundaries with family. That was a tough cookie for me too. I had set some boundaries with my sisters, because they relied on me a lot. I always made myself available. I had to learn how to take care of them. That's when the burnout I started when I wasn't feeling well, when I was like, okay, yeah, I'm making decent money, but I'm not happy. I'm a risk taker already, but I just took that big risk to say, okay, I'm leaving. Let's find out. Let's see what this journey takes.
I love your finding Natalie journey and learning to love yourself. What role do you think that self compassion and self discovery played in that journey?
Oh my gosh, it was huge. It was a huge role for me because, like I said, I was so used to giving, and it just got to the point I was like, oh, I got fed up. I was like, I want these things. I want somebody to do that for me. And I need to stop giving all my time to other people and give it to myself. I tend to date the same type of people. What's wrong with them? You need to start looking at yourself. What's wrong with you? The common denominator is you. And so I had to take a good,
Uh-huh.
hard look at myself and look back and I'm like, okay, I need to do the work to make sure I clear out all this negativity, all this things that I once thought was benefiting me that wasn't. And I just had to take a good look at myself. Eventually, I realized I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what I truly like to do. I'm not doing this because somebody else liked to do it, because I was trying to fit in. I wanted to belong so bad. And sometimes just but when you do that, you forget about yourself. And so you have to remember yourself in coming back to yourself it took a long time to break that. I always say it was like I was breaking myself like a mule. So this is very stubborn. And because you're so used and accustomed to, a certain way of doing things. And I was like, in order for me to get better, I know I have to break these habits. I have to do this. I have to do that. And so
Yeah.
I just made that decision. Okay, I'm ready to accept this challenge. Let's do it. It's been times I wanted to give up. Don't get me wrong. It has not been easy. But I always said, I'm like, if I've gone this far, I got to keep going. So far, so good. It's taking longer than I thought it would, but I'm getting closer to that the finish line. But you got to be willing to make those changes. That's the biggest part.
It takes a certain amount of humility, which is probably part of that ego death thing that you
Being
mentioned.
vulnerable.
When I'm going through similar transitions, whether it's me knowing that I need to change jobs or pivot my career or end a relationship, and when I'm starting to think about what's the next step for me, one of the best pieces of advice I got from a therapist was to look at what kind of bait are you fishing with? Because you can only attract something that's going to be attracted to who you are at that time. And so it really made me stop and think at each transition point, am I the person who's going to attract the kind of job I want, the kind of friends I want, the kind of partner that I want? So that was a piece of advice that really resonated for me. If you could go back and kind of give yourself advice when you were at your lowest point, what would you say to Natalie?
I will tell her it gets so much better. Just wait. Just wait. Be patient. Be patient. It's coming. I tell you, it is coming. And just don't give up. Like I said, it was times I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know, and I believe in God, universe, whoever you believe is your higher power. I had to seek and surrender. That's the biggest thing. You have to kind of surrender because I was a control freak. I was trying to control everything. Even when I said, "Oh, I have faith," because that was one of the biggest statements my mom always said, "Keep the faith, keep the faith." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I hear you." Now I definitely know what she means by that. And you have to have faith in yourself, faith in your higher calling, and just know that it's going to work out. And yes, your ego is, like I said, it protects you. So you have anxiety and fears that come along with that. Like you said, a therapist. Therapist is always good, ladies and gentlemen too, whoever's watching. It
Yeah.
is very, very good to have a therapist or somebody there you can talk these things out to. Because they'll say, well, look, remind yourself you're not in danger. You're okay, you know? And then once you say that to yourself several times, it's like reprogramming your brain. Because you think about it, your brain is a huge computer. That's basically essentially what it is. We've been programmed to be a certain way, programmed to live life a certain way. And as we have noticed, especially in how the world is now, we're noticing how a lot of things are being exposed. Whereas once we were believing a certain thing because we were programmed to believe that, now we're seeing, oh, that wasn't true. And so now it's kind of hard to desensitize and try to reprogram ourselves from thinking those particular ways. For the spiritual people out there, this is the year of nine, the year of change. So a lot of that also plays in it as well. It's helping you to kind of get back to yourself. But the thing is, there's some people who are still asleep out there because they're too scared to wake up. I'm already the picture of diversity. I'm a woman, I'm a woman of color. In my field of study right now where I work, it's not a lot of us in that field. And so when other people of color see me, they're like, oh my gosh, I can be what you're doing. I try to encourage people to go into things that are interesting, like cytology. Most people do not know what I do or even understand until I explain, or if I say, oh, I look at your pap smear, they're like, oh, okay. There was a field that was introduced to years ago when I was in undergrad. It's such an interesting field. If you love science, if you love biology, especially, because what you looked at in school, the cytoplasm, the nucleus, that's what we're looking at. It takes pride into knowing that you're helping to save lives. So I help especially with young people who are interested in doing that, doing something in the science field, try to promote that. When I lived in Seattle, and that's where I met Jen, I was into STEM. I was a STEM counselor. I was helping the high schoolers who were in the STEM program. And that brought me so much joy. I need to get back into doing that. But that was a way for me to give back and to help out and to inform because a lot of them they just didn't know like my end of the laboratory end of it. They knew the computer science part of it. or nursing, of course, nurses and doctors and physical therapists, but they don't see us, the people who are in the background. I try to look more so to our diverse group of people because a lot of times they're not informed about it. It wasn't truly informed until after high school. So now just trying to promote that to let them know there are other things out there that you can go into that are in the medical field. They're not the nurse, they're not the doctor, that are other different aspects that you can still contribute and help save lives with.
Share like an example of how mentorship or working in the ERG made a difference in your workplace.
When I was in Seattle and I worked for the biotech company there, it was over the ERG of the Black or brown people, whoever. And it didn't actually, what was cool about the ERG, it wasn't like exclusive just for Black people. Anybody could join it if they wanted to, any color, any race. So I did like that inclusiveness about that. But it helped me to be able to see that everyone didn't grow up like, everybody grew up differently. I grew up in a household. I had two parents that met in college, and then we all went to that same college. But you have some people who grew up with a single mom or a single dad, or the parents are in different professions. So it's nice to be able to talk to other people, then also have people who you have things in common with and be able to mentor them as well. So you take bits and pieces from people, and I've learned a lot from that. And to be able to use that in other ways to mentor outside of an ERG. So I think ERGs are some place to be. It also helps with people to feel like they're belonging to something. Some people may be in a particular field where, like I said, for me, there's not a lot of people of color in. And so you have these other people who look like you and you work for the same company and it's just nice. So you kind of feel relaxed. You feel like you can just talk how you don't have to put on code switch, as we call it. Sometimes you can just relax and be able to talk to people. Thankfully, there's more people who are able to look at other ethnicities and races. I love how it's a melting pot. I get to learn about this culture and that culture, and I love it. But some people feel like you should only stay in your culture, in your race.
Mm.
And I think it's, to me, is you're just short changing yourself. You're not actually living life because as we know, there's other people out there. And so I enjoy to be amongst other people as well as my race as well. And then when you're a part of these ERGs, you see how different ethnicities or different groups. It could be a group of women versus men. We all do things differently. And so it's just interesting to hear and listen to people because that's the main, most people just want you to listen to them. They don't necessarily need you to fix anything.
I'm glad you mentioned the term code switching because, as you and I know, it is unfortunately part of the experience of being, someone in the pride community and a person of color.
Mhm.
For our people who don't know what code switching is, can you define that a little bit? And then what's your advice for navigating being your authentic self versus needing to fit in with everyone else?
With code switching, that's something I know is me being a person of color, a Black person, a Black American. Our community, we tend to be a little lax with our words sometimes. We have what we call ebonics, so I can't consider myself bilingual. But when you're in a professional setting, and that's something that was taught to us too, as to survive in the professional corporate life, in order to be considered equal, you needed to present yourself in a professional manner. And that way, that we felt that will get you more kudos or will give you more attention, or maybe people will look up to you more. I mean, it's just that's what we would do. You get on the phone, you talk to our friends, we're like, hey girl, blah 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 blah. And then you get to work. Hello, this is Natalie. How can I help you? You see how different that was? And I'm sure with the pride side of it, you're supposed to be looked at as a particular gender when you don't associate yourself with that gender. And so you may feel like you have to act a certain way. And that's basically what code switching is. You're basically acting different than who you truly are.
Part of some corporate cultures. Um, Speaking of that, as a leader, how can leaders cultivate environments where those diverse voices and experiences are truly heard and valued?
You give them the stage, you give them the floor, you give people the opportunity. I take it upon myself. It's just to allow people to explore their different race and their gender, whomever they want to be freely within that group. And sometimes for people who are not accustomed to that, they learn, and you have to approach it in a more gentler way. not aggressive, like I'm going to shove this down your throat type of way, but it's more, like I said, just being forthcoming and being acceptable and empathetic. And you just introduce certain things around it. With one good thing about it, especially on the West Coast, it's more accepting. And and it's lovely to see because I'm a person who came from the South and from the East Coast. And when I moved to Seattle several years ago, it was refreshing that people weren't restricted and you had to be a certain way and people were comfortable in their own skin. And so it was nice to be able to experience that and to see that. There's prejudice everywhere. I mean, there's something that's across the world. It's not just the United States, but it's just nice to see where it's accepted until people actually be able to relax and be able to be themselves. That's what people look at that outside shell. They don't look at the heart, not looking at what that person can bring to the table. But there's so many things that people can have and be able to use if they will be allowed to be free, to be themselves.
I know you've helped so many women find their voice at work and beyond, but I want to dig deeper into that idea of authenticity and of letting go of needing external validation and really owning your own story.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like for you personally? And how can other women start to embrace risk taking and self love in their own lives?
It's been freeing for me because I was one that was always trying to belong and I didn't like to draw up any friction. I was one that sometimes you just have to let things happen. And if you have to argue about something, that allows people to get stuff off their chest and you allow you to get stuff off your chest. And it's so much better than keeping stuff in and trying to be what you consider proper because you want to belong. So it's been so freeing for me. And it's just to be able just to care anymore what anybody
Yeah.
says or thinks. I'm my own person. It may be in my own little bubble or world, but it's a peaceful one. I tell people, oh, I'm still single. Oh, why are you single? And then I don't have human babies. I have fur babies. Oh, why ain't you never had a baby? You need to have a baby before it's too late. I said, do I really need to have a baby? Everybody's not meant to have children. Some people who physically can't have children, and they get shamed as well. And so that's the thing is we've been programmed to believe women, their role is to have babies and cook and clean and organize the house, and men are to be the breadwinner and go do this and that. You can be whatever you want to be. My father had 3 daughters. Rest his soul and bless his heart because I feel bad because he had 4 women he had to deal with, my mom included. And so he was highly overprotective. But one thing he always told me was do not let anyone, man or woman, take advantage of you. So I had good mentors in my life. Were they the best parents? I used to think they were, but then as I look back at my inner child stuff, I'm like, oh, yeah, there were some things that they lacked in, but they did the best they could because of what they learned from their parents. But it's up to me to make the decision to not have to do exactly what they did. I am a person who I consider myself a generational curse breaker. We don't have to do what they taught us. My parents, they worked and grind up until their retirement. And guess what? My mom had breast cancer when she retired. Right after she retired, she had breast cancer, and they could not do anything that they had planned to do at retirement because of that. They worked to the bone because that's what they felt. They had scarcity of money. They were like, we got to save, 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 and penny pinch, penny pinch. And when they both died, they left us, me and my sisters, a nice chunk of money, which we appreciate. But I hate that they didn't get to live. So that's one thing you gotta remember is we grind, 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 but we also need to live. Like they say YOLO. I know so sometimes that YOLO will get you in trouble. But hey, I can say at least I did it. At least I tried. I don't like saying what it because my thing is I'd rather go out there and experience. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So I did it, tried, but at least I tried.
Was there a turning point when you realized that you could just be you?
Yes. And actually, that's just been recently, believe it or not, because I still was holding on to my old self, a little bits and pieces of my old self, thinking I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. And a lot of times life happens for you. It's telling you that what you need to do, but we're stubborn. We're trying to make things happen the way we think it's supposed to happen. And that's the thing. That's the whole point of surrendering. Sometimes you have to surrender, let go, and let God or universe or whomever and just let things play out. If it's something's going to fail, it's going to fail. Even though I know I'm a risk taker, and I also realize you have to fail to like in order to succeed. Like I said, I still have my times where I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to hold on. And then I had to let go of something that I was just holding on to. That I was like, let it go. I think that was like the final piece of myself that I had to let go of. Once I let that go, I'm like, okay, I feel free now. I'm actually feeling free. Am I rich, wealthy, and all this other stuff that I want to be? No, not yet. It's coming. I'm on my way there. But a lot of times you have to just let go and let God and just let things fall as they may. Because if you hold on to stuff, you're not going to get to experience what's truly meant for you.
Absolutely. I love that you mentioned risk taking because I think as women, we can be a little bit risk averse, whether it's in your career or networking or your personal life. How has risk taking helped you grow?
Oh, I think it's so good to be able to do that because that's where I was like, when I first initially moved to Seattle, I was living in Florida and I moved by myself. And then I knew one person that lived there, but I didn't really, and had never visited Seattle other than for a job interview. So in Seattle was not even on my bingo card, as they say nowadays. It was not there for me to even live. And so that's when I was like, I would never know because I had plans, but sometimes you have to drop those plans because opportunities pop up. And I'm like, we have so many opportunities that are thrown at us. And sometimes we throw them to the wayside because we're scared, because we don't know what to do. Because I had people tell me, how did you do that? I would be so afraid. Wonder if it doesn't work out. I said, well, if it doesn't, I just have to figure it out. You can always go back. That's the thing. You can always go back. And so my thing is, I didn't want to be like my parents and wait until retirement to go on adventures. I want to be able to experience life. I'm going to move to the West Coast, never been there before. And I'm just going to go and see what it's like. And I'm so glad I did. Because I could still be doing the same old same, feeling like I'm going in circles and not being happy. But like I said, I'm glad I took that jump. And in that direction because I would have never got to live and seen the things I've seen or been to the places I've been to or experienced the things I've experienced if I hadn't made that choice.
I had a very similar experience in that when I was 21 years old, I moved from upstate New York in my parents' house all the way to Seattle, also to follow who would become my first husband. I knew no one out here except for him and his family that I'd met once. So I had no friends, no job, no anything. And a lot of people have asked me, like, how did you have the courage to do that at the age of 21? I think the main thing that it taught me is sometimes you have to be willing to let go of your old life to enter into your new life.
Right.
That memory has really served me well over the years. Are there specific practices or mindsets that have helped you build your self-love and your confidence?
Yes, I did a little stint in network marketing. I learned a lot of personal development. And so I'm so glad I was introduced to that. Yeah, I know that people frown upon network marketing, but it teaches you a lot. I think that's the thing about me, and maybe different from a lot of people. Some people are just there when they see it, they experience it, they don't take anything in. I take it, learn from it because I've always learned from things. But it taught me so much to be in personal development because I was once very shy. I was very insecure. So definitely had some insecurities there. And that taught me how to be confident and to how to think differently, see things differently. I've always been like this anyway. So I've always looked deeper into things and not just look at things just on the face value or power it is. And everything's not just black and white to me. And so that's been helpful for me in my personal development. And then understanding and learning more about me and making sure I understand me. I love me. You don't realize that sometimes you don't love yourself because you wonder, like, oh, nobody loves me. Nobody loves me. Do you love yourself? Because if you love yourself, somebody will love you. You know what I'm saying? And you will
Yeah.
see it, And so that's just my driving force with the mindset. I read a lot of books. A big one is Atomic Habits. You look at your habits. You look at what you're doing. This the quote they say, look at the 5 people you surround yourself with. That's who you're becoming. If you don't like that, you're gonna have to start eliminating some people to get where you want to get to. And it's okay to want what you want. You don't have to settle. And that's what I did. I did a lot of settling back in the day. Just settle. And it's okay to want what you want. Because people are like, Natalie, he doesn't have to be this and that. He's a good person. I'm like, but I'm not, I don't, I said, yeah, they're nice, but I'm not attracted to them. Or I have a little ick with the problem with they said. It's just because
Yeah.
somebody's nice doesn't necessarily mean that's your person. And so I have such compassion for myself, so much love for myself. And so I have a high tolerance of not having somebody that wouldn't reciprocate. Like I said, I'm a giver. I'm a giver. Whoever's going to be with me has to give back. I'm sorry. I'm not doing that again. Oh, and see me for me, not just my looks, just what I do. See me for me. And so that's the mindset I've taken that has gotten me to where I am.
Love that. I've definitely had phases of my life where I've kind of settled also. And that's a great way to get stuck. For our listeners right now who might be feeling stuck or afraid to stand out, what's one thing they can do this week to move towards being more authentic?
I would say we all need to determine where you're feeling stuck in your life. It depends on where. Is it your job, your love life? Is it your marriage? You got to determine why you're stuck. Second one is just start taking baby steps towards the direction you want to go in. If you're concerned about your marriage, make sure you're getting counseling. That helps a lot to kind of determine where things are going. If that counseling doesn't work, that kind of happened with me. The counselor pretty much was, there's nothing else I can accept that and know that that means you need to move on. And yes, that other person may not like it. I mean, that was the case in my situation. Even though they were unhappy, they did not want to leave that marriage. They were happy where we were. I was the one that was like, I have to get out of here. And so sometimes you just have to take baby steps in that direction in order to be able to get to where you want to seek out help groups. There's all type of information on YouTube that's free to help you to figure out ways to get in that direction. Strong friend that you can talk to these things. You know, you need somebody who knows you. Like I tell my sister, she's saying, well, my friend said such and such. I said, I'm your sister. I know you. So I can't sugarcoat this for you. Sorry. But you just got to have that real friend that's there who truly cares. Yeah, it may not be what you want to hear, but know that person has your highest self in their heart. They want to see the best. So it's just taking baby steps. You don't have to take big steps. And I think that's what a lot of people feel like they have to take big, huge steps in the direction. But no, take small ones. Like I said, what things that happened to me didn't happen over. And it was a long lesson.
Absolutely agree. The important thing is to just get started. For me, I would add on to that it was important for me at any transition point in my life to build kind of a board of directors or kind of a team of people around me to advise me so that I wouldn't have to rely on my own judgment or just get validation for what I'm thinking, whether that's doctors to steer you towards your health journey or a therapist to help you with your internal stuff, a mentor if you're stuck in your career. Totally agree on that.
There are coaches out there too that help transition for people. That's something that I do when you seek out people like me. Some say two brains are better than one because you may be thinking a certain way, and I'm like, I can probably outthink this therapist that I'm going to. Then the therapist gives me something. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good. Know that there's help out there. If you can't afford a therapist, your job that you work at has what they call the EAP or whatever. Basically, they offer free counseling sessions, and at least you get something out of it. And they even have free financial assistance or teaching you financial things. It's just taking advantage of free things that are at your job that can help you in that direction if you're concerned. There's always something or someone there that can help.
Well, you've shared so many inspiring stories and insights today. But before we wrap up, I'd love to do a quick lightning round with you, like your favorite ups for certain things. Are you ready? Sure. Okay. What's your go-to strategy for managing stress or even perimenopausal symptoms during a busy week?
My major thing is I'm a part of groups on Facebook, honest to God.
Mm.
And it's a group of
Yeah.
women, and we all talk about our perimenopause experiences. And so we sometimes you may not feel comfortable, and this is the thing most women don't really talk about. Like my mom didn't
Mm.
talk about it to me and my sisters, and I wish she did. But I'm glad that most women are talking about it now. But yeah, I'm part of groups like just a free group on Facebook, and we all basically just throw up on the chat, and we're all talking about our experiences, and then you find out, oh, it's not just me. I'm not the only one that's going through this. So that kind of helps me and guides me through that. Breathing exercises. It sounds wonky and, witchy or whatever, but taking deep breaths, even your therapist
Mhm.
will tell you to do this. Taking deep,
Yep.
long breaths, exhaling will do it a load of good. And basically, it's just pushing out that anxiety out of your body and making your body feel like it's safe. So, those are my go to methods for that. And then you can just 10, 15-minute walk. That makes a difference. So to help get through those
Yeah.
stresses of the day, stresses of whatever. And sometimes just getting on social media, sometimes life can be so, especially dealing with the perimenopause. Like I said, I'm dealing with perimenopause, ego death, and with the world situation going on now, it's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
And sometimes I go and I look at funny stuff on social media, especially pets and dogs. I'm a dog person, so that kind of gives me joy. Or I'll play with my dogs. I mean, they sense a lot. They know when you're not feeling your best. And so my dogs, I found where they sometimes they like nudge me, like, come on, play with me. You're gonna play with me. I'm like, and it kind of takes things off. It's just sometimes you have to sit there, breathe, and let things come back to you because it can get out of control. That's what I do personally.
Do you have a favorite productivity hack or tool that you swear by?
You know, productivity as far as the latest thing I've gotten into, which is weird for me, is golfing. I've never thought I would golf. But it takes a lot of concentration, but it's fun at the same time. And a lot of people on the golf course are just there just to shoot the breeze anyway. So you'll find that it's not so strict and it's not like what you see on TV in the sports. So it's a bit freeing. Other vices, I would say, is if it's okay with you, have a glass of wine. It's okay. You know,
Yeah.
relax. And I think the problem is most people don't realize it's okay to rest. We feel like we have to keep going, 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 hustle, hustle. And your body's telling you you need to rest. And you get still like, I don't understand why I'm sick all the time. Because you need to rest. And it's okay. Nobody's going to look at you differently because you sat down or you took a day off or took a half a day off. Sometimes you got to do something that's what works for you because what works for me may not work for somebody else, but what you see
Yeah.
works for you may work for you. Like I said, I do a little golfing, or I like to just walk in nature. I'm in South Carolina, so we're a bunch of woods here and everything, and so it's peaceful to me. It's pretty hot here and humid, but
Yeah.
we're close to the water, so go to the beach. It's free. All of that stuff I'm saying is not something I got to spend money on. And so those are the things I find. Whereas before, I used to try to go on different apps, play games on apps and things like that. I just put the phone down, go out in nature, and enjoy
Yeah.
that.
I definitely am a big fan of rest, but also understanding there's different kinds of rest.
Yeah,
You can rest your body, you should rest your mind. Sometimes you need to rest your emotions. And so
yeah,
a lot of what you've talked about can help you with all three of those. I love
yeah.
that. Is there a book or a podcast or another resource that you recommend for women in transition times of their life?
Well, you know what? I don't have a book per se. I loved YouTube, and whatever I'm feeling at that time, I type it in, and normally somebody pops up that's talking about that particular subject. And so I find that it's very resourceful to look at things. But Atomic Habits is one of my favorite books. It's not a particular one for women, but it is a good one to look at. Or Chat GPT, honestly, too. You can put in things. Basically, what it does, it saves a lot of the conversations you have with it. So it kind of
Yep.
learns the type of person you are. And so it can figure out ways to kind of help you. And because it's like, oh, I know you like such and such. Let's look at this. Let's look at that. And I know a lot of people are looking at Chat GPT now and for helpful things. And I know AI can be it's new but it's the way of the future. And listen to audiobooks. Like I said, YouTube is a wealth of knowledge. You can find people like myself and yours like Jen we're on there. You can find people who do all kinds of things on there that can give you the answers that you need, even if it's outside of your therapist, because therapists don't know everything. So it's
Yeah.
good to just do research and see what's out there that can benefit you. Gratitude journaling, always
Mhm.
gratitude. That's a big thing. I do journal a lot. I think to me, as much as I have journaled, probably would become a book itself.
That's awesome.
And so
Yeah.
because it has all my life experiences going on in it. And so a lot of times when you put pen to paper, it kind of helps you to get a lot of that stuff out too. And you actually, when you read it back to yourself, you're like, oh my gosh, you have an aha moment like, oh, I didn't realize that's how I was thinking. That's how I'm seeing things. So it's just good. It's good to journal. That's,
I would definitely read that book. So let me know when that comes out.
yeah.
And I'd also second you on the using AI thing because I use something a little different than Chat GPT, but I might use it daily, whether it's just to start my thinking process on something, do some research for me, which
Mhm.
saves me time, which is at a premium right now, or just help me kind of come up with new ideas. If you don't already have kind of a board of directors of your life, start with AI and see what that comes up. So I love that idea. Now, before we let you go,
Mhm.
I want to know what's next for you. Do you have any exciting projects or collaborations that you're working on right now?
You know what? Ever since you reached out to me, it's my brain's been churning, and I've always wanted to write a book. So that's something that's coming down the line of everything that I've gone through in my life to get to where I am. Because I understand that I'm not alone. Whereas you think you're alone, you're not alone. Believe me, ladies, gentlemen, whomever, you're not alone. Everyone has something very similar going on that you're having to go on in your life. And I think having that guide and actually, I think, experienced a lot, way more than probably the average person, with hardships and things of that nature. And like I said, the ego that and what have you. I can kind of give like a guide to people so they can recognize these things so they don't have to take as long as I did to get to a certain place in their life. So the book thing is definitely something that's coming down the line. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I want to do my own podcasting and pretty much doing the same thing, giving advice, deal with transitions in life, dealing with the more spiritual side of life, like crystals and stuff like that. That's different. A lot of people don't, people were being shunned for being like that, but no, there's some astrology. I love different things. So I dibble and dabble in that kind of stuff. So I can introduce that and show how that can work in your life. So that's with that podcast. And of course, I would love to do collaborations with yourself, Jen, with other ladies who are trying to make a difference. And basically, that's what we're all doing. We're trying to show other people how they can get through life and that it is actually possible. We have done it ourselves, so you can do it too.
Anytime you want to collaborate, I am in. You have shared so much of your wisdom and your story with us. If someone wanted some extra, maybe one-on-one coaching or help with finances, is that something you would be open to them reaching out to you about?
Oh, most definitely. Yes, please. I'm an open book. And also, I'm willing to help anyone because, like I said, two brains are better than one. Sometimes you just need someone to listen to you, someone to be able to kind of guide you. You have ideas, but you don't know where they're going. I'm that person. I can help you with that. So, most definitely, I can be found on pretty much all social media platforms. I haven't really, my YouTube is getting there. It's not quite there, but I can leave that with you, or you could post it somewhere with the podcast and just most definitely reach out to me if you just want to chit chat and just we can see what we can do, how I can help you.
I will absolutely link your contact information into the show notes. One last question for you, since we've already taken up so much of your time.
Oh, no worries.
If our listeners wanted to take just one thing from this whole conversation, what do you hope that is?
I hope that they can see someone and say, oh, I can do what she did. I hope I can do it. They can see that what I've said and resonates with them, and they can say, "Oh, I can rip that band-aid off." It will bring me so much joy just to be able to have somebody who will say that and who would try, even if it's those baby steps that I mentioned. Just knowing that I was able to help someone with this podcast brings me joy. I mean, you just don't know. I'm a person who likes to give, so I don't do it like obligation. I do it from the heart. And so right there, like I said, if you took anything that I said and it resonated with you and you see something where you can push forward, by all means, that brings me joy.
Natalie, thank you so much for sharing your story, your expertise from your career reinvention to financial empowerment, from burnout to personal rebirth. You've given us so much to think about and, more importantly, to start acting on. To everyone listening, if there's one thing I hope that you take from today, it's that it's never too late to pivot, to reclaim your voice, or start building the life that you want on your own terms. So whether you're navigating perimenopause like we are, or considering a new career, or simply looking for your soul tribe, I know that you're not alone and you absolutely have what it takes. You'll find all the links to connect with Natalie and myself, other resources in the show notes. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend who needs to hear these messages. Until next time, keep moving forward, celebrate those small wins, and remember, you are productive AF.